following is a video training module on risk management by businesstraining.com. Welcome to our training on risk management. This might seem like a rather dull subject, particularly to those of you who have a real estate license and have had many required repetitious classes on the subject. Rest assured, we want to cover in this video things that are important in the business brokerage field, specifically to help you keep the money you make. You can make a lot of money as a business broker. You must first make sure you get paid for your efforts. Additionally, if you want to keep what you make after taxes, you must avoid losing a lawsuit. What we will discuss in this video will help you do this. Because the laws vary by state and because the author is not an attorney, you should always seek the advice of an attorney licensed in the state where you do your business. You or your company should have an attorney that is skilled in business law to review all of your forms and provides counsel to limit your liability. Let's begin. What is agency? The simplest explanation is that agency is determined by who you're working for. Most business brokers are agents of the seller. This means that they are working with the seller as a client and have a higher standard of care to them. This makes the buyer a customer. Sometimes a business broker may work as an agent of the buyer as a buyer's agent. The reason that these distinctions are important is because the legal consequences of each relationship. An agent is a person who acts for or represents someone in negotiations with other parties. The client or principal is the person the agents represent. The business broker, when acting as an agent, must loyally represent the best interest of the client by placing the interests of the client ahead of the interests of any other party. In a transaction, when a business broker is employed as an agent, they are obligated to negotiate the best price and terms for the client. A customer is a person who is provided services by the business broker, but who is not a client of the broker. In this case, the business broker is not acting as an agent. Simply put, you can't represent both the buyer and seller in a transaction. Some states allow limited consensual dual agency. This must normally be in writing with the knowledge of both parties. In this case, you are not completely representing either party. This type of relationship is best avoided. Some states have what is known as transactional brokerage. This allows you to work with both parties without having any an agency relationship to either. Agency is usually determined in business brokerage by what the real estate laws say in that state. In fact, real estate law is used to rule on most cases that a business broker will be involved with. Contract law. What is contract law? This is the basic law used to interpret all agreements between parties. A valid contract contains the following elements: mutual consent, which is also known as meeting of the minds. The parties must be in agreement on what is proposed. Offer and acceptance. These elements must be present. Note that a counteroffer is not acceptance but a rejection. Mutual consideration. The parties must agree to exchange something for an agreed upon value. Performance or delivery. In order to be enforceable, the action contemplated by the contract must be completed. Good faith. It is implicit within all contracts that the parties are acting in good faith. No violation of public policy. A contract must be legal to be enforceable. How does this affect the business broker? Contract law will determine most everything you do as a business broker. All agreements should be in writing, signed, and valid between the parties. This includes the listing or engagement agreement, the confidentiality agreement, the offer to purchase agreement, any counters or amendments. If there is a dispute that goes to court, this will determine if you win or lose. Protecting the commission. A business broker works very hard over a long period of time to earn their fee. Most of the time, this fee is on a contingency basis. That is, they do not get paid unless the business is sold at a price and on terms that are acceptable to the seller. Let's make sure that you get paid. Start at the beginning of the process to think about your commission. You may or may not perform or have performed a business valuation on the business to be sold. At the very least, you must work with the seller to understand the cash flow of the business and thus its value. Do not take a listing on a business that is way overpriced. You will not get paid because this business will not sell. Let the other guys learn this the hard way. In the current economy, this is truer than ever. If the seller tries to justify the asking price by saying that my accountant, stockbroker, lawyer, or country club buddy told me that it is worth this much, I just suggest that they may be able to sell it for them then. Once you have the price established, make sure that your listing agreement is ironclad. Have your attorney review it before use. It should clearly state how much you should be paid and when. I suggest a minimum amount to cover circumstances that you can't foresee, but sometimes arise. For instance, they decide to shut the business down, sell it to their relative or partner, or change their mind about selling. All these situations will be governed by contract law. What does the contract say? Also, this is the stage to negotiate the commission if necessary. Do not negotiate it before closing, as sellers often like to do. Have a clause in your confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement that makes the buyer liable for your fee if the seller doesn't pay. This will need to be carefully worded by your attorney. Some buyers will not want to sign this. In that case, have a non-circumvention clause. Both of these items ensure that the buyer and seller don't try to cut you out of your commission. All offers to purchase should have a clause that the seller agrees to pay the broker a commission as per the listing agreement. You can also have the seller sign a new agreement to pay the commission when he has agreed to sell at a certain price and terms. Risk mitigation, as it is used here, is a systematic process of avoiding being sued, or ensuring that if sued, you will prevail. Keep in mind that nothing is 100%, and people can and do sue over anything. Recasting the financials to determine the true cash flow of a business is one of the business broker's most important tools. However, as you have learned, it is not an exact science. If a buyer does sue you, your company, the seller, and the seller's dog for misrepresentation, this is where it usually happens. It is not hard to get an accountant or other expert to testify in court that you did it wrong. Make sure the seller understands the recast and signs off on it. Disclaimers should be in everything shown to a buyer that all information is a representation of the seller, not the broker. This includes the NDA, the business profile, the recast financials, and anything else given to the buyer by the business broker. Keep in mind that the seller may lie, forget, or intentionally omit information to you and the buyer. You do not want to be responsible for these actions. As part of the due diligence process, you should have the seller fill out and both the buyer and seller sign a disclosure statement. This should cover potential financial and legal risks to the company. This protects all parties to the transaction. At this stage, something may come up that kills the deal. This is better than being sued later. Once a problem is out in the open, say environmental or tax issues, the parties can work to resolve them. The closing document should have a strong language that indemnifies you, the broker, for any claims that the buyer or seller might later make. Again, your attorney can help you prepare these. The last topic we will cover today is record keeping. This is another dull area, but it must be addressed. You or someone you trust must maintain files or on buyers and listings. If you are a real estate licensee, you have already had some exposure to this. Records must be maintained for possible review of the Real Estate Commission. In business brokerage, you must keep even more information in your files. Notes in some format need to be kept on every meeting and conversation. These may become critical documentation that will help you get paid or not get sued. Thank you for your attention.